What's the best question someone asked during a sex ed class? We had paper to write questions on we didn't want to ask out loud. Someone wrote, "Is it true pussy smells like tuna?" I proceeded to completely lose it for whatever reason. I had to leave, I was laughing so hard. There was a crazy girl who went to my high school who tried to use the fact that vaginas smell like fish to prove that evolution was real. Apparently, that smell is some ancient part of ourselves coming into the light. And isn't that beautiful? And etc. etc. She'd always try to convince the Jesus Club kids of this, but they weren't having it. For once, I'm on the side of the Jesus Club kids. I once asked, "Why do I need this? I'm never going to have sex." 8th grade. Man. Some girl in my class asked the following, then followed by, "Can you use a Ziploc bag as a condom if you don't have any other options available? Is it necessary to shampoo your pubes?" Probably my 4th grade sex seminar. The boys and the girls were separated into two different groups. The boys taught boy stuff, and girls girl stuff. I thought it was weird that the boys and girls were separated. Toward the end of the seminar, the teacher asked if we had any questions. So I raised my hand and asked what the girls were being taught. Without missing a beat, the teacher turns around the diagram of the male scrotum, and starts explaining how the female body works. In grade 8 we split for one of the 3-day class to have a more personal discussion lesson about mental health regarding sex, and why it can be damaging to have sex before you're ready, aren't in love and shit. At the beginning of class, the girls were told to write down one thing that they would want their partner to know before having sex with them. We were told that the boys received the same task and we would get to read their responses later. Answers were things like, "We want you to love us," "We want commitment," and the like. We proceeded to talk about how it can be harmful to girls because we tend to naturally feel love after sex, while boys don't. Later in the class the teacher stepped outside to exchange the baskets with our answers from the question at the beginning, with the boys' class taking place next door. The boys' responses were horrific. "We don't care about you. You're just a midnight snack. You're just a pretty-faced nice body." The class basically ended with "See, and this is why you shouldn't have sex before marriage." I was talking to a guy friend later, mentioning this part of the class. He interrupted me and said, "Wait a minute, we didn't have to write down what we wanted girls to know. They told us to write down the scariest thing we think a girl can hear after sex." Apparently they lied to the girls and the entire assignment was a scare tactic, because abstinence-only sex ed is that horrendous. Is the sex ed nurse really your mother? Yes, she was really my mother. When there was a diagram of male genitalia handed around, one of the girls in my class asked, "Why do they look so different on an octopus?" Turned out she had the words tentacle and testicle very confused. One kid couldn't wrap his head around the idea of semen and urine both coming out of the male urethra. He went on a pretty lengthy rant about it. What if you have to pee during sex but you can't stop in time and you pee in the girl? Does it feel different for the girl? Is she going to know if you pee inside her? Is it mixed with the semen? He seemed really worried about it. To every other 11-year-old in the class, it was high comedy. In hindsight, I think the teacher did a pretty good job explaining it. Does anus happen to everyone? He meant acne. Classmate: When was homosexuality invented? Teacher: I can't believe why. Fine. You know what? In ancient Greece. Classmate: 100% serious. Oh, okay. Best one from the anonymous question box. If you lose your left nut, is your right nut still your right nut? The teacher read it, set the paper down, and after about a minute of silence admitted he didn't know. We had the anonymous question box. Best submission from my grade was, "Is masturbation possible for women? And if so, demonstrate." We also had an anonymous question box. One question was, "Can ghosts have sex?" With two poorly drawn ghosts with confused expressions. One was holding his dick. I went to Catholic school. My sir said his health teacher encouraged everyone to write a question anonymously and put it in a box. He had written, "Can Siamese twins be conjoined at the penis?" My wife taught an introductory biology course for a community college in Virginia. During the reproductive section they were talking about ways that women could get pregnant. My wife brought up that even if a man pulls out there is still a chance for the woman to get pregnant. One of the ladies in class who already had 3 or 4 kids pipes up at that moment and says, "You mean if my man nuts on my labia I can get pregnant?" My wife was amused by the fact she used both sexual slang and proper anatomy terminology to ask the question. A girl in my class asked if the balls go in too. Still one of the only things that I remember from those classes. If she's kinky enough. Not exactly a question, but the teacher decided it was a good idea to say you're going to hear a lot of funny words like penis. So if you can't handle that you should get it out of your system now. The thunderous chorus of penis is something I will never forget. My health teacher in 8th grade did this. He even gave an example, where, in an effort to make us feel less embarrassed, he shouted penis at the top of his lungs. Shortly after, a woman came running into the classroom. I don't know if she was a teacher or other staff member and jokingly asked why she heard somebody shouting penis at the top of their lungs. He promptly said, "Well, you came running when you heard it. What does that say about you?" Class cracked up. Somebody once asked, if 2 guys was doing one girl, one in the butt, one in the vagina, will they feel each other? Not a question, but in my college-level human sexuality class, we were talking about slang names for female genitalia. There was the usual, pussy snatch, etc. Then, after a few moments of silence, someone in the back yells out bearded axe wound. The whole class lost it. Can I pee on a girl when we're having sex? Well, actually, when you have an erection, it makes it almost impossible to urinate. Well, what if I, don't? Can I still pee on them? Oh wow, I guess that's just something you'll have to discuss with your partner at the time. Hold on now, you can definitely pee with an erection. Said every man who has peed through morning wood. I actually got into an argument with my health teacher about this. She pulled rank on me as the health teacher. I've had a penis for 14 years at that point. Had a sex ed teacher ask us if we knew of any ways to avoid pregnancy. Without hesitation, my buddy's hand shot up. Didn't even wait to be acknowledged and shouts, "Doing it in the butt." If it's not safe to use 2 condoms, is it safe to use 3 condoms? TBF, it sounds like the teacher only gave a base case of 2 condoms. The poor kid just wanted the inductive step. Kid in class. Is it true that women can have multiple orgasms? Teacher not hearing the question. Come again. I swear this happened. Still don't know if the teacher was joking, but it was very quick and played off very well if he was. Year 11 class aged 15/16. Someone to the teacher. How effective are condoms? Pregnant girl in class. Not very. So you can't get a dog pregnant? Okay, just making sure. Everyone was in shock. The football coach teacher had us watch The Miracle of Birth on the game tape video player. One kid said, "What if you don't want the baby?" So he hits reverse and boom, the doctor shoved the baby right back into the vagina. I asked the teacher, why do I sometimes get an erection even though I am watching a baseball game? She did not know and the class started the bantering. Sadly no one explained NARB, no apparent reason. Boner to you. I had a pretty chill English teacher that gave us that acronym. Unrelated. Had a hot-ass science teacher in 7th grade that when asked the question what does sperm taste like, she quickly said salty without think about what the reaction would be from a room full of teenage boys. In the diagram of the male genitalia, why are the testicles hanging lower than the penis? That's the way they are. Mine aren't. One boy asked, when I squeeze my nipples, pus comes out. What's that all about? 3rd grade. First time talking about sex ed in class. My friend asks the teacher, is breast milk 1% or 2%? Can sperm get you fat? Yes, if you get pregnant. Could I be pregnant? If a woman has starch masks on her body, does that mean she has been pregnant before? I shouted the question, what's ejaculation? Across a full auditorium during a sex ed class in middle school. I really didn't know, so I guess it was a good question. You ejaculated. What's ejaculation? To the entire congregation. Young me will never forgive J.K. Rowling for using that word in her books. Why are condoms flavored? Do women actually taste down there? We lost a man that day. After every class we would write down a question on a slip of paper and they would be collected in a box that the teacher would pick at random. Well, one day someone jokingly put in the question, is it normal for my girlfriend to have a penis and why is it bigger than mine? So the teacher had to explain what hermaphrodites are, or the possibility that the person in question's girlfriend had a large clitoris and that they had a very small penis. I'm sorry, but your girlfriend is a hyena. A girl in my 8th grade class asked our health and PE teacher, if I am pregnant with twins of opposite genders, is it dangerous that the male baby gets the female baby pregnant while they're still in the womb? The guy teaching the class stood frozen for 5 seconds before a teaching aide stood up and briefly said no. The look on the man's face to this wild question was absolutely priceless. He was staring off into space thinking about what he'd just heard. He was so stunned that it seemed to cause a short circuit in his brain. I imagine he's spent a great deal of time pondering the question ever since. Why does the left nut hurt more than the right nut? See your doctor. What if it gets stuck in there? In her defense, it was 5th grade. Not really a question, but during sex education we were on the subject of condom usage and teacher asks now. Student responds confidently, just in case the guy ain't got no arms. I died.